What is up, everybody? Happy Wednesday to you. you know, I try not to center a lot of my conversation on geopolitical stuff and even the social stuff. I'm trying to break away from that just because I don't really feel like it's helpful to those people who are really looking for spiritual truth and how to connect the spiritual word to what's happening in the world. So I've been trying to get more centered with the word, and I think that's more helpful to people. But I was catching this. There's a guy that I follow. It's the Anomaly channel, Anomaly News Analysis channel. And the guy I love him to death. Like, he's so adorable. He's very objective. And I like people who are very pragmatic and they look at things from a broad lens. So, shout out to Anomaly. But he has he had Dave Smith on recently, today I think, on his podcast, and they were just kind of talking about Tucker Carlson's segment on Christians in Israel, and they were just kind of talking about this dynamic, between Israel right now and how it connects with the United States. So I'm going to play this statement from Dave Smith. It's really quick. And then I'm going to read a scripture to you guys, and then I'm going to tie it all up. All right.
Because look, the relationship between the United States of America and Israel is unlike any relationship between two governments in the history of the world. There's really never been anything like it, where Israel gets unconditional, total support from the U.S.
Okay.
And when I say unconditional, meaning that even if they're doing something that the United States does not want them to do, that every single president of my lifetime, with the exception of Donald Trump, who was just awful on Israel. One of the things I like about you is that you keep your integrity when it comes to the topic of Donald Trump. But Jimmy Carter.
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there because, I think he's making a valid point. And for those of you who follow my content, my live streams, where I'm talking about Bible prophecies, definitely catch the last two of those, because this point is going to make more sense to you. And like I said in that live stream, right, we are at this point where Bible prophecies are being fulfilled, right? And so let's go to Revelation, right? Because John, our last elder, the last apostle of Jesus, right, who basically was inspired to show mankind the end. They were the fourth cycle, or the fourth empire, which was Rome, was going to fall after John died, obviously. And so we were entered into this crumbled empire where we are at right now. This is what the Daniel's prophecy tells us. Now, John goes and he kind of reiterates Daniel's prophecy, but, he talks about this second beast. And he says, then I saw another beast rise, and this is Revelation, this is chapter 13, and I'm starting at 11. Then I saw another beast rising out of the earth. It had two horns like a lamb, and it spoke like a dragon. It exercises all the authority of the first beast in its presence, and it makes the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast whose mortal wound was healed. Right? And so when you think about these beasts, the first things that you want to, remember is that beasts are reflective of empires, right? They're reflective of empires, right? Now, that first beast that they're talking about that was healed, right, is really those nations that rose from the fragmented Roman Empire, right? So that's your France, your Germanys, your Great Britons, right? Your Swedens, right? These Anglo-Saxon Jutes, right? Those people, those nations, Europeans, okay? But this second beast, right? He saw another beast, right? So we already know who the fallen Roman Empire nations are, right? They're that first beast, the collection of that first beast, right? But we got to get to that second beast, right? That second beast, it says, had two horns like a lamb, and it spoke like a dragon. Okay. Horns are considered nations, right? They symbolize nations in Bible prophecies. So these two horns, and it even talks about one being slightly bigger, right? It performs signs. This is this one where he talks about the horn being slight. It allowed the beast that was wounded by the sword and yet lived, right? It was allowed to give breath to the image of the beast so that the image of the beast might even speak and might cause those who would not worship the image of the beast to be slain. Also, it marked on the right hand or forehead, right? So that one could not buy or sell unless it has the mark. That is the name of the beast or the number of its name. Right now, a lot of people, and they're saying that this is and it says this calls for wisdom. Let the one who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for the number of for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Okay. And so, but we want to talk about this second beast, right? Okay. Some manuscript says 616. Okay, I just want to read that footnote. But the point I'm trying to make is when you see that this second beast have risen and it has two horns, right? This is really America and Israel, right? And we know that it is America and Israel because these are the two nations that really rose to some form of power, after 1914. And when you see what happened in 1914, you saw a shift of power, right? Where America became the dominant world empire or power, right? And Israel shortly after gained its rise in 1948. So a lot of people don't realize how connected America and Israel are. They are truly tied at the hip. It's almost prophetic that our relationship with Israel is like that because of obviously what these two nations represent as a whole. Now, granted, this is not a positive thing, right? People are looking at it like, oh, it's biblical. It's biblical only from the standpoint that this beast will fall together. So when Israel collapses, America will collapse. If America collapses, it's going to be damaging to Israel. So they are tied at the hip in so many different ways. America might as well be a proxy nation of Israel because that's exactly how this nation will always operate because they represent that one beast that rose from the sand. America came out of nowhere. Right? We just kind of came out of nowhere in 1914 as like these underdogs, but it could have been planned all along. Who knows? We don't know all the illuminations that people were planning, throughout the centuries, but we do know that America and Israel have been tied at the hip. They will be tied at the hip because they are that second beast in Revelation. And so let me know what you guys think if you have a different interpretation of this. But, I don't think that, we should be shocked if you know the word as to why the United States is so committed to Israel. And I don't really even think that, these nations comprehend the biblical aspect of it because they're so focused on the secular alliance, the financial alliance, whatever alliance they have in blood, probably, I don't know. But they're focused on that. But there is a biblical significance for why these two nations are tied at the hip and they're going to be destroyed together. it just is what it is. Like Bible prophecy, you can't stop them. What has been spoken will be done. All right. Anyways, I was gonna just make that one a short one about that, but let's see what else has been on my radar. I've been pretty busy today. So let's see. Oh, this interesting. I think people should read their Bible. Just stop having people dictate the Bible to you and read it, because this guy goes, Daniel, I'm not even going to chop his last name, tells Nico that the Talmud says that black people are cursed, right? And so what is this guy saying?
Was Ark, and then he committed an act of like fornication or sexual intercourse, basically, and then that was forbidden. So he was cursed for that, and he was cursed with black skin. So that's in the Talmud.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, like I said, I rock with the Jewish people who are not Talmudic. I think Talmudic Jews are the satanic sect of Jews, and unfortunately, they are the ones who have the most influence. But this is Satan's world, so take it for what it's worth. But anyways, I think people should really understand that when you read the Bible account, Noah did not curse Ham. Noah cursed Canaan, Ham's firstborn son. And Canaan went on to establish the land of Canaan, right? And which is the modern day Israel today, right? And the land of Canaan is the promised land. Like basically he settled in a land that he wasn't supposed to be settling in anyways, but he settled in the promised land. That's why Israel, when God was like, okay, here's your promised land out of Egypt, they had to go and they had to fight the Canaanites. Those were the Canaanites, and they were supposed to wipe them out of the land because they were wicked, baby sacrificing idol worshippers. And in order for Israel to be a holy land, it needed to be cleansed of the defiled practices of the Canaanites, which they did not stay the course on the job. And that's why they ended up in the plight that they did throughout the Old Testament. So I just want to put that out there for people, because there's a lot of people who have they've been manipulated about the word. They're going around believing all kinds of ridiculous things just so that they can fit some kind of supremacy of some group, some idea. And these, when you think about supremacy, these ideas have been going on for centuries, right? And you can trace back so many different groups that have created supremacy doctrines to maintain some idea of being a favored people of God. And so if you understand what the Bible is saying, you understand why the new covenants were necessary, then you will get the complete picture of why a lot of these conversations are not even valid, right? They're not even valid on so many different ways. First of all, everybody has a right to exist. Everybody has a right to exist. If you are an established nation, you have a right to exist, right? The argument becomes when you start saying that a group of people who believes that they are some ancient people in the Bible and that their God or God gave them a certain land, but you're not even talking about what happened on that land that got them removed from the land, and you're just saying that they have an entitlement to that land because of God. That's just not correct. It's not correct at all. Matter of fact, that land after the Romans destroyed the temple in Jerusalem, it was desolate. It was desolate. Hadrian, the Roman emperor, he's the one who named it Palestina because he wanted to take the name Israel away from it, which he rightfully should, because though that land was no longer the land of God. And we know it wasn't the land of God, and we know that God's Holy Spirit wasn't on that land, even at the point when the Romans destroyed it, because the Romans did not have an intent to destroy the Second Temple. You can take a secular account from that, from Josephus. He wasn't a Christian. He was just sitting back watching the Battle of Jerusalem and Rome play out, and he said that was not the intent of Titus to destroy the second temple. But God put it in one of those Roman soldiers' heart to throw a torch at the temple, which caused the temple to burn down. So we know that that land, that temple, had zero significance to the actual God of Israel, the one of Abraham, but it had more significance to the idol worshiping false gods on that land. And I think, when you want to get real technical about it, God told the Israelites, and Moses even warned them, Joshua warned them, that you can be removed from this land if you do not keep the covenants of God. They did not do that, so they were removed. So really, that land was vacant. And if we were going to get truly technical from the biblical standpoint, that land belongs to the Palestinians because it was vacant and desolate, and they have basically dispersed about Europe. They didn't go back and rebuild it. That's why that mosque has been there longer than either of those temples combined. So, I mean, it's a really interesting conversation. Like I said, I think that this is a mockery of the scriptures. I really do believe that some weird religious sect of people believe that if Israel, these people that are in Israel today, just do what they were supposed to do in the Bible and rid the land of all the idol worshipers and baby killers, right, then they could create some purification to the land and make it holy again. And it's like, you can't go back and rewrite Bible prophecy like, oh, we made a mistake, let me just go back in time and change this. No, it doesn't work like that. And, and that's why Israel failed on so many different levels. And you cannot go back from that. You cannot do what you were supposed to do millennials ago right now and think that you're about to change the scenario of Bible prophecies. No way. It does not work like that. Mankind's judgments are coming, and that's not just Israel. It's going to start with Israel. It will definitely start with Israel, but it's trickling down to all the nations. All of the nations, including Israel. Israel is the fire starter. And that's why a lot of people think that it's going to start like, oh, peace on earth is going to. No, God's judgments are starting in that very mockery. Because if you want to mock the scriptures, right, you're going to get the same outcomes as the scriptures. And so they can build 12,000 temples and it will not change Bible prophecies, not one bit. And I'm sorry that a lot of Christians are sold into believing that you can, because a lot of them believe the nonsense. Oh, we're going to get some cows and red heifers and rebuild the temple. First, we got to rid the land of all the Gazans, right? Because we were supposed to do that. Like, those aren't Canaanites. Those are not Canaanites. Those are Gazans. Those are Palestinians. You're talking about a whole different type of group of people. And most of those people have converted to some form of Abrahamic faith. So they're Muslims, right? The Canaanites, they weren't that. They were pagans. They worshiped idols. They were Satan worshipers. They worshiped demons. That's what the ancient land of Israel, that's the ancient Israelites. They were getting rid of those people. Like, can somebody show me where the Gazans practice Moloch worship? Do they worship Moloch in Gaza these days? Do they worship Baal in Gaza? Beelzebub? Do they worship these demons, these defiled spirits? Show me some receipts of that being the common practice in Gaza. I don't think you can, because Gazans aren't Canaanites. They're not Canaanites. They're not Canaanites. So anyways, you guys, you have a wonderful, wonderful day. get into the word. Y'all need to start reading the Bible all the way through, because if you do, you will see that there is a lot of mockery going on in the scripture. It has been going on for centuries now. And it's at this point where people are believing things that are supposed to be Bible prophecies or interpretations, and they're just not scripturally founded. So you guys have a wonderful day, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye.